Perfect, thank you. So this is a reminder of today's focus is on program health storytelling. While program assessment is underway, ideally, we talk about that in separate sessions. Today's session is about the program health review steps. These are due May 1st. So what I wanted to do today, Janet, was actually get something in your narrative that you can come back to or check with your colleagues, but let's make it a working session that's useful. So Stephanie, you should be able to see something similar to what Janet is seeing. Again, you get there from the homepage of the college intranet and the Watermark link at the bottom, unless you've got it updated. But yes, Janet, let's click on the 24-25 annual program health review. This takes us to a different screen that is basically, here's where we're telling our story. And it's spinning for a little bit. This might be a off-campus, on-campus thing. But this is the reminder that we are asking for several different short stories. This is not expected to be a lengthy narrative, but we are trying to split the storytelling into different modules or different sections. And each one of those sections has something to do, hopefully, with an overall theme. So the first one is just about enrollment. It's one simple story about what's going on with the program in terms of enrollment. And are you noticing differences in modality or in ethnicity? What's sticking out to you? What are you observing when you look at enrollment? And we'll go into the dashboard in a second, Janet, but I just wanted to tee this up. So then section 2 has a couple of different pieces related to it, but we are, and again, we're modifying this as we go because we want it to be useful and at least logical to the people who are completing it. When we talk about why do students retain, why do students come back, why would they come back, we weren't really sure where to put learning, but we thought that if students are learning, if they are clear in what knowledge or skills they're gaining in this program, it might encourage them to return. So we have parked learning outcomes in the retention section for now, because this is largely a copy and paste from what you do with program assessment. So the learning outcomes section in program health is just a big step back. Yes, I am measuring my learning outcomes. Yes, they are clear to me and my other faculty and students ideally. Yes, we're collecting student evidence, and it's telling us something about learning. So that's a very brief overview of the section of student learning as it relates to retention. Is that somewhat logical, Janet, to you or to Stephanie? I know we can debate why it's in this part, but you do work related to learning in program assessment. So I just wanted to be able to not have you tell a whole new story, but to connect that work to this program review process. Thoughts or feedback or comments on that, if you have it. And silence to me means you agree with what I said.
Well, at least until we go through here, because I won't really know until after I've gone through and done it, whether it makes sense.
True, fair enough. Click on it for now, Jen. Let's just take a quick peek at it. We don't need to necessarily do any data entry. But here the prompt is, at the very top, it says read more. I wonder what evidence I put in. Describe the extent to which students in the program have met the program learning outcomes. How does the program measure student learning? So again, this is what's due on April 1st, right? That's a whole separate training session that I'm doing in a different way. But this is a step back and an overview to just simply say, how are the students doing? And are they meeting my expectations? Are they learning what we want them to learn? And the only way you can tell that story is if you've gone through the exercises of, well, this is the student work we looked at, and we're either satisfied or we're not satisfied with that. So this is an attempt just to step back and summarize that briefly. If you write the narrative in this section, Janet, I'm curious to see, this is something that Terry and I have noticed is a little bug in the system perhaps, but click on the purple button on the right that says write narrative. This does provide the opportunity so you don't have to remember what the learning outcomes are. It pulls them over from the assessment process. And there are hyphens in there because this just means you haven't gone through 24, 25 yet to say which ones are we measuring and are we satisfied or not. And again, my expectation is that you do not measure every single outcome every single year. But I always welcome pushback from faculty who say, but I am measuring a lot and I want to report that, or I will do what's required and just report on one or two of these. Those learning outcomes should look familiar to you, ideally, Janet. I know they do for you, but when program heads or when department chairs look at this, these learning outcomes should be things that they are aware of, have some sort of sense of how they measure it, and have a plan to do that year over year. So you can see columns will begin to populate this year over year. We think, Terry and I think, the software is designed to do that. And then just below that reminder in that section is where the text box is, just to say, yep, we're measuring the learning outcomes that we care about. Yep, we're looking at the right amount of student work. Or we need some work to do on these. These learning outcomes don't really represent our current team. Whatever you want to say. All I'm saying is that this is your big step back summary overview of how satisfied you as a department chair are in your efforts to measure learning. And I think you can even, if you click on one of those, Janet, I forget if it's in purple, if you can go over to the left on one of the words. No, all right. Sometimes the link would have sent us back to sort of,
no.
That would be too confusing anyway, maybe.
So will we put information somewhere else that will then cause these dashes to be populated with METs or not METs?
Yes, that is
okay.
The program assessment training that I will do. If you want to, we could spend 90 seconds doing that together right now, but
no, that's fine.
Yeah, after you've done that exercise, then that's also why we stagger these due dates, right? Because ideally you will have wrapped that up in March or early April, and then you are still sort of pivoting and telling this story of overall program health at some point this spring, but then end of April, early May, you're coming back in here and you're seeing evidence that, yeah, we measured this year, we measured mathematical reasoning and scientific modeling. And we have results in here that should be familiar to you, and you should just say, yep, looks good. Nope, we need to make some changes, what have you.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
What is actually due on April the 1st?
So I know you read every message that I send, Janet, but I send an email out last week, oh, maybe it was this week, to all department chairs that I hope you are on that D list. There. Oh, see, it's one of your unread, Janet. I knew you didn't read it.
No, I read it. I just marked it as unread so I could find it again.
All right. So this top paragraph is what is due April 1st in that message. And that is a reminder that curriculum maps, learning outcomes, student work, and then the how to do that is at the bottom of that message. That's where I link the recordings or the link to the YouTube channel that has the, what am I supposed to do? How am I going to do that? That's at that CETL YouTube videos. And then you're
attending. So I guess my question is about the student work piece, because if we're collecting data in the spring semester, there's no way we can report on it by April 1st.
It depends. You're right. If it's a final, if it's something that hasn't occurred yet, you're absolutely right. Tim, I don't know to look at. But I would say, did you do something in the fall? Or again, yes, we want to be as recent as possible, but I am open to you going back in time to grab student work that would still let you tell a story about their learning.
Okay. I mean, we do stuff in both semesters because you're not technically evaluating the whole year if you're only doing it in one semester.
I would agree with you. I'm trying to be flexible in that I realize that people offer different things throughout the semester. Some people rely very heavily on finals, which makes sense, or final projects. But other people are like, yeah, I offered that assignment in the middle of the semester, and I'm going to go take a look at it. So
Okay.
yeah, you left some breadcrumbs in that text for you right at the bottom. So let's save and exit. Yep, and we'll come back and do that. So today I wanted to do a little bit of work on performance rates, gateway course success rates, and retention rates, those middle three. So this is information that you'll say, well, where do I get data on this? And this is where I want you to open up any one of those, Janet, whichever one is particularly relevant. So again, we're in the student retention module, but now we're doing a little bit of a deep dive into something a little more particular. And the read more at the top, we are, again, asking for your knowledge and review of performance. What courses seem to have pass rates within your program, and do you have any sense of why? Now, somebody like you, Janet, you may not even have to look at the data because you may know that off in your head, right? I know which courses my students struggle with, and I know the data to back it up. Stephanie probably knows that. Many department chairs probably know this off the top of their heads. But if you don't know it off the top of your head, there is a tool that we've tried to create for you. So if you now tab over to, yep, there we go. This is the new dashboard made up of existing material that I am calling the Academic Program Health Dashboard. Notice we are trying to do the same numerical system that we do in Watermark. So number one is all about enrollment with the program. Number two is about pass rates, just what you clicked on in Watermark. Three, well, 2A and B, I guess, is about, well, I guess retention rates. We'll have to look at these. So we have to work on those numbers because it looks like retention pass rates and retention fall to fall are the first twos, but the order on in the menu got a little mixed up. Like I'm looking at the tabs at the top and I'm looking at that menu. The retention pass rate is the one that you clicked on that's related to student performance. So I wanted to peek at that. So let's click on that. And now it defaults to accounting. I wish it didn't always do that. We have to clear the filter and go grab biology. Let's do biology, I guess, right? Or no, science AS, right? Or science AS.
Science.
That's right. Okay. So
How is it gonna handle the data? Because like right now, well, this is the old program, the science specialization.
right.
The new program that started this fall is just the straight science 880 without the specialization because now we have majors.
Yeah, take a
So
look at that filter again, Janet. Do that drop down.
it's
again.
there, but you can't look at two of them. You can't put two of them together, can you?
Not yet. That is an ask that we are waiting to get done by IR where they're going to put checkboxes.
Yeah, so these are the people who started this fall.
Yeah. I would say maybe that's a more relevant story for you to tell, but you tell me. And then again, I would say your program is a interesting one because we have this transition between the two. So I'm seeing 81% of the students were doing C or better work.
And the new ones were only in the 70s, and I'm willing to bet if we've been encouraging them to take their math in that first semester, my hypothesis would be that math is responsible for the lower C or better pass rate in the new ones from last fall.
Yeah, good guess. So again, this is stuff that that sentence you just said would be interesting to put in this program health analysis. So you've got filters for different academic stuff. You've got course filters. So you could say, all right, well, let me take a look at math for the science AS, right? You could either just choose math overall, right? And I would say, let's just take a look at that. And I wouldn't even, yeah, I guess you could select a course, Janet, but you could also just say, there's your 58. I think you hit your hypothesis, right? So you're doing exactly what I think we are intending for faculty to do, and you've probably done a little bit more than I would say, but what you've looked at to me is a sufficient story to begin to tell in program health. So you're going to say what the overall pass rate is, maybe not representative of every class in the science AS, because we're particularly noting that the impact on pass rates of our students is negatively affected by math and chem.
Yep.
And that's a story.
Actually,
Oh,
no, chem's not bad.
Yeah, that's not too
It's
bad.
math. It's not chem.
It's below the average, but not by a lot.
Mm-mm.
This is exactly the example that I am hoping department chairs sort of follow to very briefly, very high level, right? I don't necessarily want to send you into a rabbit hole with this. I want you to stay as much out of the weeds as is possible. And I know faculty, it's hard to do because you all want to go investigate stuff and really think about it. But for the sake of storytelling on program health, when it comes to student pass rates, your observation is, I think, on point here, Janet.
It's math, and it's 7-week math classes specifically, because that's where I get to the 40s.
Look at that. Yeah, so there you go. So then I say what you just observed is worth a brief entry into Watermark. You don't need to report the data because everybody else can see it. Go up into right narrative on the upper right. And let's just say, well, it's kind of slow. I don't know, however you want to summarize those observations. While overall rates are in the 80s, you've noticed that the 7-week math seems to have the largest negative impact on success rates. And while that's not new news to you, it's something that you are going to investigate with blah, blah, blah. I don't know, however you want to word it. But again, this does not need to be a lengthy update. I think this is meant to be here's my observations, here's what I think we could do about it, or here's my recommendation as a department chair. The goal of this is that it is meant to stimulate a conversation about student pass rates. What can we do anything about this? How do we get our math colleagues to have a conversation about this with us? Something. I mean, you're doing exactly, I think, the high level analysis here, Janet, without going too far into the weeds. And exactly, leave yourself some.
That's my note to myself for later.
Perfect. Perfect. And then I would say have Ramsey and Karen peek at this too, right? And then they'll say, oh yeah, oh, and this, and oh yeah, add that. And you're basically performing health analysis. So then yes, manage evidence. If you wanted to add some, I don't know, downloaded spreadsheet from the dashboard here, if you wanted to do that, you could. This is not required. This is all what is helpful to you.
That was going to be my question. Like, what kind of evidence would this be?
Yeah, this could be, here's one of the sticking points that I've run into against. The students have overwhelmingly been getting stuck on this particular assignment, or we are experiencing, again, I think you could grab a snapshot of a dashboard here and say, it's this issue that we really need to address, or this is the thing that bothers me the most, or whatever. That's an optional if it helps you remember, or if you think it helps add support to the argument you're trying to make. Only as an option, only if needed.
Ooh.
So I think this is great. So I think let's make sure we capture what you just did. Make sure you always save that watermark entry, because that is a tool that will prompt you to save before you leave.
I did.
All right, good.
There's something else that's sort of interesting here. If you look at the demographic table.
Yeah.
So yes, 59% is a bad number.
Sure.
But look at the individuals.
Yeah, it's because look, 50 out of the 75 are black.
Yeah, but the blacks, everybody's doing poorly, but the black students are still doing way better than the Hispanic students.
Yeah, and look at this. The black students are outperforming the white students. That's
yes, they are.
That's a counter narrative to what happened.
They are.
So that's an observation that I would point out. And I'd say that's particularly compelling because it goes against what we usually experience. And is there a reason for that? I don't know. I don't know. But that's a very interesting observation. And remember your filters, Janet, so you can find that again. You filtered on, what did we filter on?
Math.
Just math, okay.
Yeah.
So we didn't parse out the specific courses. And we looked at just fall 24, which was, I think the program flipped that anyway, right?
Can you clip this and drop it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's right. You could clip, I don't know if you're a clip person, what's it called? Snippet?
Snip.
I use Snagit.
Or snag it, or yeah, you could snag it and drop the image into the narrative too. You wouldn't even have to add it as evidence. You could just snag it and say, this is a reminder to you, this was what I looked at. Yeah. See, there it flips back.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
see here, the Hispanic students are outperforming
And
everybody.
yeah, look at that. And there's a number of, like 20 of them, you know.
Yeah, it's not like there's 5 of them.
Right, that's enough of a number that, again, that's compelling to me. And far fewer of them are getting DFs and Ws, right? 21%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. Good, this is it, exactly, Janet. This is an example of an investigation of the data, trying to stay out of the rabbit holes, but doing some big picture, quick analysis, and leaving some breadcrumbs for yourself in the notes of the program health process in Watermark.
So here's my question. We looked at math, but that's not actually something that we control. And when I
Correct.
say we, that's
Correct.
me, Karen, and Ramsey.
Department chairs, that's right.
Like, that's a conversation to have with Marquita, maybe?
Yep. Well, and here's how I say you do control it. You control it through that peer-to-peer conversation, right? And
Yeah.
yes, it's not what you can do in your own classes, but it is a, hey, this is something we observed. And she may say, well, no, duh, that happens for every program. But you may say, we've got some ideas. And you may say, so then why are the Black students outperforming the white students in the most recent? Like, that's counter to what these others are showing. So I think
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's an eyebrow raise. I don't know. Let's look more closely at those students. Who are we talking about? But that's the next, to me, that's the next level. This is just your sort of high level start, big picture data analysis review. You're spending, I hope, a few minutes in each of these just, oh, interesting observation. Okay, well, that just tells me something that I already knew. So there's nothing new there, but I'll make a quick note of it and I'll move on to the next thing. So let's move on to the next thing. Let's go back to Watermark, and I think you're right, we can go to retention. So again, you can jump around any order, right? So again, I don't want to prescribe a certain order, but we wanted to include something about gateway courses. Now again, this isn't, mostly so far the college level narrative has been math and English as gateway, but there may be program gateway courses that I don't know about that you do. Right, so I think these are ones where, yes, we say English and math are the main ones, but you could spin that narrative a little bit to say, well, for science students, we try to get them into these courses first. 101, 106, whatever you tell me they are, Janet. And then take a quick peek at those success rates. Again, you may know them off the top of your head and say, okay, well, they're either succeeding or they're not, and we have some suspicions as to why. I say English and math in here, but I don't know that it just has to be those, because I think, like you said earlier, the only things you can do with English and math are to have a conversation with somebody else. But the courses that you control the content of, you can do a quick look, quick analysis, and say, all right, is this surprising to us, or did we know this information already? And do we want to do something about it? If the success rates are high, good, that's what we want. We want to keep doing that. the success rates are lower than you expect, all right, can we investigate why? So gateway, so I guess, yeah, we still overly focus those two tools on English and math. But you could still go back to the pass rate tab where you were and investigate those courses that you just looked at. I would clear the filters that you've got at the top. And just, if you wanted to stay in science, you could stay fall 24, I guess. Whatever you think is relevant. And then do your course filters.
Because of the two different course filters, I think you got to do both of them separately.
You're probably right. Isn't it course details? Let's try academic filters first. I don't know why that filter is not working. Hey, could we make a note of that one? Hey, what's going on with our filters? We lost them. Maybe let's pick a semester. Maybe
that's it. Although, guess we're just looking at the fall.
Yeah, I don't think it should have impacted, but
that should be everybody.
Because we were just
because I didn't pick anything last. Okay, let's try this.
Yeah,
I don't know. That was weird. I don't think it should be limited that way. But
all right. So Bio 101.
So maybe that's not surprising to you. What do you think about that 63? It's only 47 students, so we're not talking about a ton, but
yeah,
maybe a little lower than you would think or expect.
Yeah, because the overall number is higher.
That's right. That's right. So,
but again, these are, can I just take off the fall semester and show me?
Let's go into the specialization. Let's do that.
Oh, you know what it is? It's because all I have is that one semester of data.
Yeah.
If I go,
let's
come on, clear. I go to this one.
There we go. 730 students.
And they've got, this looks better.
It does. It does. It's still, I mean, again, then, look at.
And it's a much larger
It is a much larger sample size. We've still got 75 versus 59 and 62. So again, observations, right? At this point, you're just making some high level. So fall 24 was a little bit lower than a longer term mean average. And you're noticing again, white students are outperforming Black and Hispanic students. Large number of Asian students in that. Look at 73 Asian students. And sort of stereotypically doing well. I don't know why the filters are disappearing on you.
The filters aren't working.
We'll have to follow up on that.
Hold on, let me take that off and see if that's. You have to take everything off and start over completely.
Again, right, that's kind of annoying.
All right, let's just look at.
Harry, can you help me remember some of these follow-up steps? I'll send Mel an email. Janet's really our first real tester of this. So this is great.
And chemistry is better than bio.
Yeah, which I wouldn't have guessed.
A lot fewer students.
Well, true, but the white rates and the black.
Well,
rates.
you know why this is better, because most students don't take chemistry until they've been here for a while. Very few people take it in their first semester.
And they're probably more focused, right, on what they
So
want.
if nothing else, they've learned how to be a better college student by the time they take it.
Interesting.
Because I'm quite certain that if I go back here, clear that, and then look at new people in the fall.
Oh, not too bad.
A lot less, but it's actually not that bad. But if you take chemistry your first semester of college, you're really into it.
You know what you're doing. Yeah, and again, though,
you're in there because you need chemistry. You probably want to be a physical science major.
But to me, Janet, all these qualifications based on your knowledge that you're putting on these rates, this is stuff the deans may not know, right? Or others may not. Now, Kendra maybe, but again, I think what you're explaining to me is worthy in a sentence in capturing in the story you're telling in program health. like, yes, while we've noticed some differences in rates and maybe slightly lower percentages, this is what we tend to observe in the data. So this is the exercise of program health that you are doing. We are focusing again today on just retention. And while most of our efforts have been on course pass rates, Gateway English, Gateway Math will be relevant to some programs more than others. We were already doing a little bit of a deep dive into math earlier. But you're sort of familiar with that because of the program that you're in. Yeah, look at that. That seems a little bit low. Oh,
This is,
because it's just counting summer to fall. That's why. There's nothing.
yeah, but there's one student.
In the summer, maybe.
Hold on.
Do your yeah.
Nope.
See, it says summer 24 as a filter. Do the
Nope.
Do the specialization. Let's see how that looks. All right. So disregard the summer.
Yeah, because it doesn't have any fall data in here for this one yet.
Yeah, ignore that. But I'm seeing a pretty nice progress from spring rates, right? From 29 up to 37. I guess we came back down a little bit to 29. But then spring 24 was up to 38. So there's a little weird spike in you have to ignore the summers, right? I guess we could filter out.
Yeah, you have to ignore the summers because that's all the four-year students bumping the numbers.
That's a pretty nice trend. Yeah, maybe do semester filters. See if you can deselect. Just do fall and spring. Yeah. Oh, I don't know why summer 24 keeps showing up. But ignore that, and the trend line is positive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Still overall numbers lower than we would want, but heading in the right direction. So that to me is a positive story to tell.
Well, and we really only started super pushing students to do it and to do the gateway courses in fall of 24. So we don't even have any data for when we really started pushing this.
That's right. That's right. And that's another story to tell in this overall health, to say, yes, while there's a compelling upward trend, the rates are still lower than we would like, and our recent efforts aren't going to be reflected in the data yet. So that's 3 sentences worth of a program health story right there. Yeah, now you're just sort of investigating course by course, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, those are a lot different numbers.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you sign up for Math 167 to do pre-calculus and trig in one semester, that's the 5-credit class. You probably like math and or you were really good at it in high school.
Yeah, I got you. So not as many students, but still overall being more successful. Not many students. So it is hard to draw strong conclusions, right? You know this when you're not, 250 is a nice sample overall, but anyway.
Per semester, it's not very many.
Yeah, you're doing exactly the sort of investigating that I think this is designed to do. Now, Janet, maybe not right now, but I would appreciate hearing from you after you poke around in this a little bit, try storytelling to give me some more, even bigger picture feedback. Like, is this getting at the right data points for you to address these questions that you're prompted to? Like the other one down is just overall retention rates, right? 2.4 is just fall to fall retention rates. Yep, that one there. Oh, but we didn't capture some of your good thoughts on the other one.
That's okay.
But
I'll have them again.
Yeah, this is recorded, so we can watch the recording. But let's look at science specialization, because there won't be anything in the science AS here. And I was working with them, they said there is the ability, once you select it once, to maybe carry it from tab to tab, so you don't have to keep doing this.
Not thus far, there isn't.
Yeah, I know it. So in the program, again, maybe we're not seeing the trend that we want, something to happen there, but within the retention rate staying at Reynolds, the rates are stable.
Well, here's the, yeah.
But you may know why.
Well, I don't know why, but I'm wondering if some students, for some reason, updated to the new program this fall,
Oh, there you go.
which would mean that they left this one
Correct.
or didn't return in this one.
That's exactly.
I don't know.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's a great guess. So again, that would be, that would be a reason here, just to leave some notes like drop off may be explained by program change. We'll have to do further looking, that sort of thing. But this is it. You are sort of laying a solid foundation for what this program health process is designed to be, I think. And then I will admit that there are pieces of program health that we don't have great data like this for yet. So we've been poking around with the retention rate data, and you're doing exactly what I hope this is designed to support. Just taking a look at different variables, what makes a difference? Are we seeing certain things? So that's sort of compelling. Less nice progress, but something happened in fall 24. But again, to me, this is meant to capture your sort of thinking about the needs of the program or the strengths of the program, or where admittedly the program could do a better job. And then you spin that into with the appropriate resources or with the appropriate support, or the program needs a refresh or needs to be revised in order to blah, blah, blah. So all that stuff to me enters into this program health process. And we'll save our completion analysis for another session, but it's going to mirror this one in terms of what data should we be looking at and how do we use it to tell a story. So advising, Jan, we added advising into the retention one. I just don't know how to get, like there's data in some, I know faculty haven't used it a lot, but there's some data in Navigate. And Mel is working on a advising related dashboard that does have some indicators of students who have received or have held advising appointments or something like that, and what their success rates are compared to students who don't have conversations with faculty. And I want to be able to bring
okay. So she's actually mining Navigate for like reports?
Yes.
Okay, so you know how many faculty do not put things in Navigate?
True. So for now, it's not a reliable source of data.
I try, but every appointment I have with a student doesn't make it, because if it's a day where I've got like 5 of them back to back, 3 of them might make it in there.
Oh, I totally understand that. So
But there are people who literally have 0 reports in there, and they may see 10 students a day.
So then I think for now, the prompts are more about how is overall advising being managed, right? I know there are assignment issues that we're not necessarily balancing advising loads correctly from what I've heard, right? I'm always on the periphery.
Well, most students, at least in science, they don't see who's actually listed for them in SIS or Navigate anyway. They tend to see who teaches their class and who do they have a relationship with.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it doesn't matter whose name is in there. They're talking to the person that they have a relationship with, which is the way it's supposed to work.
Right.
But we don't capture that because we move people around all over the place at Reynolds. It's the only place I've ever been where they change people's advisors.
Yeah, I think they're trying to fix that as part of this advising refuel.
Yeah.
I
But
wanted-
also most places let the student choose their advisor too,
All right,
you know?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
but that's what students are doing now. They're choosing their advisor with their feet based on who they're contacting.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know the advising world as well as you all, obviously. But I wanted to leave some sort of space in this review process to talk about advising. And I don't yet know how to base that off of data yet, because of all the things.
Yeah.
you described. But I still wanted there to be a box for some sort of.
So if there's an ongoing issue where students are advised to take certain classes that they really don't need, is this where I talk about that?
This could be a place. So again, remember the big picture of this whole thing is for department chairs to be able to get things into a system that are in their heads.
Gotcha.
That maybe they've said, oh, I should bring that up at some point, but I'm too busy. Or
Yeah.
I'll put that on my list of things to talk about later. And so by capturing it in here, it gets on the radar of the deans and the academic leadership team, right, we're confronting these serious limitations in XYZ. So let's try to act on them by, I don't know, implementing some change or by having conversations with them. So yes, this is meant to capture that information that you just keep, because of the busy schedules, I'll get to that later, I'll get to that later, I'll get to that later. This is a place to capture that later, I think. So thank you. This was a good demo. We got through the section today that I wanted to get through. You got to test and play around with this new dashboard. And then the next time we talk about program health, I mean, we touched on enrollment. Again, I think the enrollment story is even more simple. What did I put in there? Oh, I guess I moved over. Yeah, is that what if you clicked on that, Jen? I want to see that.
I went back into learning outcomes and I remembered seeing that there was a document here and I just want to know what it was.
Yeah.
So I clicked on manage evidence and it's just a link,
Yeah.
I guess, to our program.
Oh, maybe. Click on it. Let me see what it opens. Yeah. That's it.
If I break the system, it's your fault.
No, that's the work you already did. So
Yeah, this is the stuff Karen put in here already.
yeah, that's what I was doing. I was trying to say, look, if you need a reminder, this is where it is. So that's great.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I did something right. Okay. We're getting close to our hour. So other observations, Janet, or questions at this point about what we just covered today?
So is this new dashboard available now?
It is. I just asked IR where they want to, how we need to share that. Because like you said, the go-to right now is that intranet page that IR maintains with their other dashboards.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love if they dropped another left-hand link.
Yeah, because that's the only place I know where to find any of them.
Yeah, and this recording will go out with the links, and I think then it'll be available in the faculty hub. And until IR puts it on their intranet page, I think I'll send people to the faculty hub, and I'll just have it as a resource there in Canvas. But then it'll be in Canvas and ideally on the college intranet page. I guess Terry and I could also put it on our IE SharePoint site, but people don't need to go. Nobody goes there. And Stephanie, I appreciate that you were tuned into all of this. I hope that maybe it was worth your time too, or maybe you got some of the, like I was glad to see Janet entering some data because that was my hope, and maybe you were able to do a little bit of that too.
You know, the science people are always going to want to play with data, Tim.
I know you will, which is why I'm glad you came to this, because I knew Stephanie was going to come and she and I would have played around with it together for the sake of the recording. But I knew you'd start just poking around and everything and start seeing if you could break it. So that's great.
I'm sorry,
Report back to Mel that
I had some technical difficulties. I couldn't hear you on my computer, so I had to jump on my iPad. Then I had someone at my door, so it's a whole lot of moving parts going on over here.
Yeah, But I'm glad you were here anyway, Stephanie.
You can report back to Mel, Tim, that I did not break her dashboard.
Not yet. That's right. Good things. Thank you, Janet. This was awesome. And
Thank you, Tim.
yeah, we'll do this in this recording. We'll carve it up and put it somewhere for people to see.
Cool.
Thanks, y'all. Thank you, Stephanie, for jumping in. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll talk to y'all again soon.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Bye.